Even though I don't actually have any religious affiliation, I consider myself spiritual and am drawn to the traditions of different religions. In September 2015, feeling really Hindu, I decided to take the plunge, literally, and bathe at the river during the times of Kumbh Mela in Nashik, India. Kumbh Mela is considered one of the biggest gatherings of pilgrims in the world. In particular, the Maha Kumbh Mela held every 12 years at Allahabad can draw a crowd of upwards of 120 million people. The crowd is so large that it is visible from outer space, and more impressively, this festival has gone on for over 2,000 years. The last Maha Kumbh Mela is held on 2013, so the next one will happen on 2025. This Maha Kumbh Mela is at Triveni Sangam, where it is said that 3 rivers, Sarasvati, Yamuna, and Ganga, Ganges, meet. Note that Sarasvati is a mythical river which is no longer visible. You may be wondering why so many people head to the Kumbh Mela, especially the Maha Kumbh Mela every 12 years. The traditions of the Kumbh Mela came from a legend where angels and demons, devas and asuras in Hindu traditions, fought for a drink, Amrita, supposed to grant immortality to anyone who drank it. To prevent the demons from seizing it, the angels put the drink in a kumbha, pot, and flew away, and the drops of this drink spilled at 4 places, Haridwar, Allahabad, Nashik and Ujjain. In that order, a festival is held every 3 years in each of this location, with the Great Mela held every 12 years. The festival lasts up to 2 months, but the most important dates to observe is the ritual bath in the river. Devoted Hindus believe that the waters of the sacred rivers have the power to wash away sins back to the 88th generation of one's ancestors, leading to an end of the cycle of rebirth. In other words, when the stars are aligned, taking a dip in the river would cleanse one of all karmas. Karmas is believed to be an effect of past actions and would decide the fate of our future existences. And my God, I definitely needed that. The main attraction for coming to Kumbh Mela is not just to gain spiritual enlightenment, but also to see the sadhus and holy men of India. So there I am, miles from home, surrounded by aspirants and naked Naga sadhus. Many of these are holy men who have taken the vow of giving up all material things. These also include the clothes that they wear. This is no mean feat, considering that it can get very chilly at night. The Nagas smear their bodies with ash and have long matted hair, often seen smoking charas, marijuana, and wearing Rudraksh beads as a symbol of their devotion to Lord Shiva. You may even see some of them lying and sleeping on beds of nails. During the Kumbh Mela, they often lead the procession of holy men. You may also be lucky to see other kinds of sadhus. For example, there are the Urdhvavars, who practice standing continuously for long periods of time, sometimes for years at a time. Or the Shirshasins, who have taken a vow to practice standing on their heads. Or the Akanda Muni, those who may choose to raise one of their arms for such an extended period that the arm atrophied so much that that arm will be raised for the rest of their life. Or the Mauna Yogis, those who have taken a vow to be in silence for years sometimes. Or the Agoras, who carry real skulls with them and go to the extent of sitting on graves and sometimes even eating human flesh, to transcend the illusion of duality. Or the Kalpasis, who take a vow to spend the period of Kumbh Mela living in a temporary ashram or tent on the banks of the holy river and devote their time to meditation, prayer, and performing rituals, including bathing in the holy river. I met an Indian, Sayaji, who volunteered to show me around, since he knew Hindi and can help me translate. With his aid, we visited a few Naga sadhus. One of them, decked in a pair of stylish sunglasses, "Wait, didn't you just say they are supposed to give up material pursuits?" took to me instantly. He taught me a mantra, Om Namo Narayan, and made sure I said it with him a few times. Then he looked at me carefully, to see whether I had gained enlightenment. I beamed at him, trying to look as spiritual as possible. Got to fake it till I make it. At the end, he asked whether I had any money from Singapore. I took a $10 note out from my pocket and passed it over. He said a prayer over it and passed it around to the other people gathered in his tent. All of them reverently held it in their hands before passing it back to him. He smiled and asked whether he could have it. Of course. I won't feel right taking back such a holy note now. The next holy man we saw was raising one leg up in the air and saying a prayer for world peace. Sayaji asked me whether I would like to hold his leg for luck. Well, why not? So after Sayaji had held his leg for a while, it's my turn. I held it while Sayaji asked me to look into the camera so that I could take a picture for posterity. My good deed for that day, lightening the burden of someone who is praying for world peace, even if it's just their legs I am helping to hold. I had spare change, which I was dispensing out to the sadhus as I got their blessings. These are really small amounts, just a few cents in Singapore terms. Sayaji advised me how much I should give to each sadhu. Then we met this sadhu. His hairstyle was that of a mohawk, and in his hand, he held a peacock feather brush, which he used to bless people by grabbing them and hitting them on their back with his brush. Sayaji turned to me and commented, "That guy is at least 100 years old, possibly more. I have heard of the legends of immortals, people who live beyond the usual lifespan of 120 years. One of the more famous immortals is Mahavatar Babaji, who is said to be at least 1,000 years old and who is known to have attended the Kumbh Mela in Allahabad in 1861 to initiate Lahiri Mahasaya into Kriya Yoga. Lahiri eventually taught the technique to Sri Yukswargiri, who then transmitted it to Paramahansa Yogananda. Yogananda wrote the classic autobiography of a yogi, popularizing and bringing Kriya Yoga to the West. So, one of the other draws for me to attend Kumbh Mela is to meet an immortal. Who knows, I may even meet the famous Mahavatar Babaji. I will eventually get to meet a possible immortal in a separate time and place. I will create a video in future to talk separately about that topic. If that, plus topics of such nature, is something that you are interested to know in future, please like, subscribe and click on notifications so that you will not miss any of my future videos. So back to the story of this mohawk-haired, possibly immortal Naga. As we passed him by, he smacked me on my back, and I passed him some money. He just waved me on and said something loudly in Hindi. I turned to Sayaji and said, "Wow, he is indeed a true guru. Everyone else charges money for their blessings, but he doesn't want anything at all. Well, he feels insulted that the amount is so low." Oh. After bidding farewell to Sayaji, I also met the Golden Baba. He wore a diamond watch and bracelets and chains, all made of gold. I was hoping that he would manifest a gold chain to each of us, but no luck there. We meditated together with his followers, but looking at him, I decided not to give any donations. He looked richer than me. I don't want him to feel insulted if I gave him my paltry change. I met another guru, whose solemn advice was that I would gain powers if I was to recite, "My soul is Shiva," 10 million times. It's not that I didn't try that night, but I think somewhere in my recitation, I fell asleep. Oh well. At last, on the final day of my trip, after braving the rains that pelted down relentlessly in a long queue, I managed to soak in the river. Was my karma cleansed? One thing's for sure, I had a great time, and maybe, that's all that really mattered in the end.